Hey everybody, Dr. Greg here. So it's time for another Cyberpunk video. I know you're really shocked, right? So anyway, I don't know if you guys knew this. Some may, some may not. I just got my new PC this week with a RTX 4090 and i9 13900K processor, 32 gigs RAM. Let's just say it's a beast. And really the whole reason I wanted it is I wanted to play Cyberpunk the best I could. Is that weird that you like a game so much that you know, well, you know what? Maybe it is. I don't care. I love this game. And so anyway, now that I have this PC, I want to get it to a point where I have the perfect sweet spot between resolution and graphics settings. So you may find it a bit counterintuitive what I actually did with the 4090, but I think I've found it, and we're going to go over that today. So before we go over that, make sure you hit like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Click the little bell thingy, and comment on the video, ask any questions you might have, yeah. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and find out how we can have this the absolute best looking, smoothest Cyberpunk VR experience we possibly can. So, of course, I have this shiny new beast of a machine, and the first thing I'm thinking is I want ultimate graphics. So, I test my machine, I set the graphics to ultra with psycho ray tracing, and playing flat I got 132 frames per second average with maximum frame rates at 183 frames per second. Now, I'm like, I'm not really a fan of ray tracing look in VR, so what if I turned all that off? And with ultra graphics settings and no ray tracing, flat screen, I was getting 162 frames per second average with 220.5 frames max. Holy shit. All I could think is, this is going to be so cool in the headset. So I put it on and I was very, very impressed at how it looked and how it ran so smooth. So to get a good number, I ran a benchmark. And what did I get? 80 frames per second. Wait, what? How the hell? I was just getting 162 frames per second. I changed all kinds of settings from graphics to resolution, and no matter what I did, 80 frames per second. So then I realized after struggling a bit that the Rift S, which is what I was playing on, only has an 80 Hertz refresh rate. So I switched to my index and I set it up in the Steam VR settings to 144 Hertz. Hop back into Cyberpunk and there it was, 144 frames per second. Now that would be like 72 frames per second in the headset with Luke Ross's real mod and alternate eye rendering. Quick note, Luke is currently working on a new version of the mod, which basically alternate eye rendering 2 or AER 2, which will make 90 frames feel like more like 180 frames. So hold on to your hats. I can't wait for that one. But as it stands, if you really want to take full advantage of what a 4080 PC can do, you're going to need a headset that can at least bump up to 144 Hertz. Or I could just see Roy Scheider walking in and Jaws music cueing. You're going to need a bigger headset. So anyway, after I got all that sorted, it's time to figure out what works best in VR. Now, I found that you definitely want the highest possible frames. Of course, that's kind of a no-brainer. At the moment, you can either do that by having a high resolution with low graphics settings or a lower resolution with higher graphics setting. So first I tried higher resolution and lower graphics settings. I set my resolution to 3472 by 3472, which is one tick lower than your maximum res that you can set in Cyberpunk. And then I moved the graphics settings preset to low. Now from there I set texture quality to high, DLSS to balanced. Make sure, by the way, that your lens flare and motion blur are off. Max dynamic decals I set to medium, subsurface scatter quality to medium, mirror quality and level of detail both to high. And then I jumped in, and I have to say, man, this game, it has never looked so damn good. It ran so good for me. I had goosebumps. It was just so pretty. Everything was so sharp and clear, and I was getting around 110 frames per second in the headset on average. Things like this turn at night right here were just stunning to see and not have all the ghosting and stuttering and frame rate drops that I was used to with my old machine. So this is definitely what I was looking for. But then I thought, now it's time. Let's see what happens the other way around. So I set the resolution to the default that Luke's mod comes with, the 2432 by 2432. My old 2080 Super, by the way, couldn't handle that. I had to drop it down another notch. But anyway, then I set all the graphics presets to high. The only thing I changed was turning off the film grade, depth of field, motion blur, lens flare, chromatic aberration. All that was turned off. Ultra graphics settings were just too high. They dropped the frames per second down to 60, which would be fine flat, but in the headset it's just no bueno because that's only about 30 frames per second. So then I jumped in and holy cow, man. The first thing you notice is everything is so blurry. It was just so unbearable to me after having that nice crispy resolution. Things were still very smooth. I got about the same frames per second that I did with the higher resolution, maybe even a couple more frames per second, but it also didn't seem to be quite as stable as it did with the higher resolution. Now, I suppose if you never saw the high res, you wouldn't know the difference. Like myself, who's been playing this game for 320 hours now, with even lower resolution than 24 by 32 by 2432. So here's some side-by-side comparison videos. You can kind of see the difference between the two. I don't know that you can really appreciate, though, the difference because the lower res is blurrier, but not nearly as noticeable as looking at it on a 2D screen compared to in the headset. In the headset, it's like somebody smeared Vaseline over your eyeballs. No kidding. So, in conclusion, for me personally, I would rather have that super crispy resolution. I couldn't really see any of the high graphics with lower res due to how blurry it was anyway. And let's face it, for us VR gamers, graphics like this are a freaking dream come true compared to what we're used to, even on lower settings. Now, in the near future, when Luke gets his AER2 stable, we can have all of it. We should be able to have both higher resolution and the higher graphics settings. And by the way, haloing, you know, that kind of shimmery mess that surround the character models that are up close and up close objects, like when you're playing on a 2080 Super or you know, probably even some of the 30 series cards, that's totally gone. With this high resolution, it just makes that vanish because your pixels are so small you don't see it. When Luke's new mod is out, ghosting will also be a thing of the past. This will feel kind of like a synced VR camera. So that's a really exciting thing coming in the very near future here. So there you have it, people. Two methods that you can use if you're fortunate enough to have one of these shiny new graphics cards. Try them out, use them, see which one you like best. I hope this was helpful. If you enjoyed the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribe and hit that little bell thingy. Anything you can do to help out the channel, I greatly appreciate it. Tell me what you prefer. Do you like higher res or do you like the higher graphics settings? Let me know in the comments. For now, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Dr. Greg, out.